Our first speaker is John Calabrese, author of the book, You Are the Common Denominator in Your Life. John is a co-founder of Body Mind Systems, a martial arts system in which he has taught for over 30 years. John is also a senior member and sanctioned speaker of the same private success club as Arlene. Please welcome John.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. Just want to welcome everyone here today. Glad everyone was able to make it. And what we're going to be doing is discussing my book, You Are the Common Denominator in Your Life. And really what it's about is you. Because, anytime that you improve yourself, you're going to impact every single area of your life. You can look at it as an equation. You can say you plus your relationships equals a result, or you plus your job performance equals a result, or you plus your goals equal a result. So in these equations, there's the common denominator, you. So if you change that denominator in each of the equations, you're going to get a different and better result. So that's really what the book is about. It's about giving you some things to look at and consider, and some of it maybe you may have already done, or there might be some things that are something you hadn't even really thought of. I didn't know that was important type of a thing. Now, if you think about a championship team, take the New England Patriots, even when they're doing really, really well, they're still critiquing, they're still looking for areas in their game that they can improve, and that's why they continue to be champions. As soon as you stop looking for things to improve, you go backwards, because you're either going forward or backwards. There is no standing still. Now, I'm going to tell you the story of Marconi. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but he thought that you could actually transmit information through the air without wires, without any type of apparatus, and that it could be received at a receiving station where the information would then be able to be, that they could respond. And he told his friends about this, and instead of encouraging him, they actually forcibly took him to a medical facility to have his mental health checked out. Now, when he got out, he harnessed the radio wave and was able to give us the radio. So that's where that came from. But again, he didn't really think about what other people thought, and he just did what he needed to do. Because what I'm going to go into right now is the first chapter, which is living outside the box. And that's just a perfect example of somebody that doesn't really care about what other people think. They're just going to do what they're going to do. And it's very important that you understand that all growth takes place outside the comfort zone. And I know that we all love our comfort zone because it's very comfortable, it's very safe, it's very nice, no one criticizes us there, it's just perfect. But the problem is you don't get any growth. So you have to step outside of the comfort zone like Marconi did and be able to, you're going to get some criticism. Hopefully no one will forcibly take you to an insane asylum, but outside of that, the worst thing that's going to happen is people are going to label you or have judgment on you, but that's on them, that's not for you. And you have to realize that when people criticize you, it's because they can't see what you can see and they don't understand what you understand. They don't know where you're going with this, so it's really not relevant. But it does impact people, because criticism, people do not like to be criticized, and they will refrain from doing good things out of fear of criticism. So you want to try to avoid that. I mean, even Einstein, he wanted to prove his theory, the law of general relativity, and he went to Maxwell Planck, Dr. Maxwell Planck, who actually was the top physicist in the world at the time. And he told him what he wants to do, and he said, don't do it. He said, it's way too hard. You can't win because it's way too hard, but even if you do pull it off, no one can understand what you're talking about, so they're going to judge you for that anyway. So either way, you lose. So Einstein went and did it anyway, but you would think that would be someone you would listen to. You know, he was the top physicist in the world. I mean, this was around the time of World War I. So, but the point was is that he just did not listen to anyone other than himself. And I think that's really important. You know, I think you need to live the life that you want to live, and that's what creates happiness in your life. You know, if you listen to other people or you live for other people's ideas, that's not you, that's them. You got to focus on yourself. You know, people may criticize you, but I think you actually would be in good company, because everyone criticized Bill Gates, they criticized Steve Jobs, they criticized a lot of people that when they were first starting out with what they were doing, you know, people couldn't follow where they were going to go. But they knew where they were going to go, and you know where you're going to go. And the important thing is that you focus on that, not on what someone might say or do. If you even look at Bill Gates when he said, I'm going to put a personal computer in every home across the country. And then most people didn't even know what a personal computer was, so it really made it sound far out there, you know, when he said that, but he actually went through, developed it. Now there is a personal computer in pretty much every home. You know, another way to approach this is, let's say you go back in time 200 years, knowing what you know now, understanding the technology and all of the advancements that we've made, you would actually have to be very quiet when you go there, because you know, you would definitely run into some serious resistance on a lot of the things that are actually commonly understood now, but back then. You could also go forward in time 200 years and see that all the crazy ideas that are going on now are just normal there. So it's relative. Everything starts out crazy, and then eventually it just becomes normal. And it's just a matter of where you're at in time. So just remember, everything is impossible until someone does it. You know, if it hasn't been created yet, then you know, it's just a matter of time. And so really, I think what I'm really trying to say here is just push your boundaries and do things differently than other people do, and not be afraid to do that. You know, the biggest thing is not to shrink just to please other people or just to avoid any type of criticism. You know, just do what you got to do, and don't let them, you know, do what they're going to do. But it's not your concern. Now, the next chapter is working with the universe, not against it. And what this is, it's just really, you have universal laws or natural laws. You look at everything in nature, it has a system to it. Every animal, every plant, everything, they all have their own systems going. And then there's also kind of bigger picture systems, like the law of gravity. You know, you want to kind of be in harmony with that, you know, because it really hurts when you hit the ground if you don't. So, you know, you really want to also understand all of the laws that are that you can get in harmony with, that are actually going to benefit you. I'll give you an example. When in the early 80s, when I started my martial art training, I was introduced to this concept called chi energy. And at the time, nobody knew what chi energy was, and if you talked about it, you were pretty much labeled. Okay, so they just thought you were nuts, or you're just some fringe guy talking about this energy that's in your body and all of this. And, you know, which was okay, you know, because, I mean, in time, kind of like what I was talking about before, you know, it was crazy then, now it's pretty much mainstream, you know, because acupuncture is based on it, just a feng shui. I mean, there's a lot of different concepts that are very well established now that really do follow that with energy. Because you have to remember, the universe runs on energy. You know, it follows the principles of energy, and everything is energy, so everything is subject to that. Now, when I was studying about chi and learning how if you have really strong chi flow through your body, you have really good health, very vibrant health. If you have weak chi flow through your body, then you have poor health. If you have no chi flow through your body, you're dead. So you don't really have much to worry about. Now, but that's, again, these were concepts that back in 1981, when this was introduced to me, it was crazy talk, you know, but now it's very kind of just a standard. One of the other laws that I wanted to discuss really was the law of attraction. And the law of attraction dictates kind of what happens in your life. And I know that probably the majority of individuals here today do have an understanding of this law, but I just want to just briefly explain it in case there's anyone that isn't familiar with it. Now, the law of attraction basically says like attracts like. And what that means is your brain emits a frequency, and it's from your thought mixed with emotion, and then that gets broadcasted out. Now, when that happens, an identical frequency is actually going to come back to you, but it's going to come back to you in the form of your reality. So you're going to draw in people, circumstances, situations, and events that bring you that exact frequency. Now, the example, let's say that your thoughts are of gratitude. You're just in this really appreciative place, feeling really thankful for all of the things that you have, and you really feel that with intensity, so you're broadcasting that. So the matching frequency is going to be things that you can be grateful for, so you get more. Now, if you go the other route, and let's say that you wake up late, you burn your toast, you spill your coffee, and your car won't start. So you're in this state of frustration, and you're broadcasting frustration. Well, now that you've done that, now you're going to get a traffic jam. You're going to probably get more situations coming at you that give you more things to be frustrated for. So really, it's a choice, but it's just a matter of just trying to get in harmony with that law. And that's really what this chapter is about, is finding harmony within the laws of nature, so that you're not fighting against it. You're kind of going downstream instead of trying to go upstream against it. So it's really key that you have a general understanding and then try to expand that understanding of these laws so that you can, be in more control of the outcome of what's going on in your life. And there are other laws, and there's subtleties to all of this, and it is a whole thing. So I don't want to seem like I'm oversimplifying it, but I'm just kind of giving a basic overview of a lot of this. But I go a little bit more in depth in the chapter, but obviously there's tons of information out there to constantly explore. Now, that leads us into the power of thought. Now, it's estimated that we have about 60,000 different thoughts a day, and give or take, 10,000. So, it's just we're always going, we're always thinking. Now, you have to determine whether those thoughts are positive and beneficial to you, or negative and they're actually causing negative situations within your life. Buddha said that you are basically the sum total of all of your thoughts up until today. And so that means that you can change from today forward, though. This is just where you're at. Now, our predominant thoughts mixed with emotions enact the law of attraction. That's kind of how it gets started. And then that creates the situations that are going on in your life. Now, these predominant thoughts form neural pathways in your brain. And what that does is it creates a habit. And so now those thoughts just kind of start on their own because they're on autopilot. So once you've established that neural pathway, that thought pattern is a habit. It'll just pop up. You won't even have to think about wanting to talk about that or think that. It'll just, just start happening all by itself. Now, if you have really good thoughts established in there, that's really good. If you have bad ones, well, I don't think that's going to really be helpful to you. So, it's important to kind of get a hold of this. And I'm not saying that you have to monitor every single thought that you've ever had and will have and try to keep track of that. All you do is just use your emotions to determine what the score is. So if you want to, if you find yourself feeling really good, you're probably having good thoughts, and so you're on track. If you're depressed, angry, frustrated, feeling all these negative emotions, well, your thoughts are probably along those lines because that's kind of where it came from. Now, the important thing is that you pay attention to what your predominant thoughts are. Not every single one, but what's the running theme? Are those thoughts about what you're going to do in the future, different achievements that you're going after, Or are you thinking kind of the failure type thoughts, or, just very pessimistic? Because again, you're creating in front of you what it is that you're thinking about. So why not be deliberate and create the things that you want instead of just kind of let things happen as they happen? So I think it's something worth investigating and paying attention to. And this leads us into the power of words. Your words are your thoughts clarified and amplified. And so what's happening is your words are affecting things. They're affecting other people, but they're also affecting you. And so it's easy to understand how your words affect other people, because what happens is you communicate information. That's an effect. You might insult somebody or offend them. That's an effect. You may compliment and praise someone, make them feel really good. That's an effect. But now, how do your words actually affect you? Well, you have to remember, your brain's kind of like a computer, and it only knows what you feed it. Whatever information you give your brain and your subconscious mind, it's your operating system that is going to dictate what you do. So if you're plugging in all of these negative thoughts through your words, because again, your thoughts program your brain, but then your words are even stronger because it's your thoughts clarified and amplified. So this is very powerful, and you're affecting your brain in a big way. So don't say bad things about yourself to yourself, because you're putting that in as fact, because your brain doesn't go, well, that's not accurate. It doesn't judge the information that's coming in. It accepts everything you say as a fact. So say outrageously good things about yourself, even if they're not true yet. You're planting those seeds in your brain, so maybe it starts to help the process along. But it does direct things. Lao Tzu said something very profound. He's an ancient Chinese philosopher. And he said, be careful of your thoughts, because your thoughts will become your words. Be careful of your words, because your words will become your actions. Be careful of your actions, because they will become your habits. Be careful of your habits, because they define your character. And then your character becomes your destiny. So he kind of lays this whole thing out. And it's really important that you are paying attention to all of those things, because we are the common denominator in all of these equations. And it's very important that we're taking advantage of every opportunity that we have to put ourselves in a better situation. Kind of stack the deck in our favor, if you will. Then the other thing with your words is they can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. You keep saying something enough times, it'll probably happen. So you want to be careful of the words that you use. It's really something that they're also expressing your thoughts. So, kind of working it backwards. So if you start saying the right things, you're going to start getting the things that you want instead of the things that you just get. You want to be very deliberate in that process. I mean, there's a lot more information in the chapter on that, but again, I'm just kind of giving an overview and touching on some points within it. Now, the next chapter is on personal responsibility. And you want to take responsibility for everything in your life. And that's because it gives you the power. If you blame other people or you blame circumstances, you're actually handing over the power to them. And you may say, well, what power are you talking about? The power to change your situation. It's really important. If you blame and you let somebody else take the blame for it, that means now you don't have the power to change the situation. You're not going to, be in that place. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you're driving to work and you hit serious traffic and you're late. Now, you have two choices at that time. One, you can blame the traffic, or two, you can take responsibility for it and say, I should have planned better, I should have left earlier. Now, what happens when you take responsibility for it is different than when you blame someone else. If you blame somebody else, you're now the victim, and you've surrendered all of your control. Now, if you accept responsibility for your situation, you solved that problem for future situations. So you know if you see the warning signs, well, I better leave earlier. So now you've corrected that, but you've also empowered yourself because you put yourself in a situation where you're controlling your circumstances. You're not just kind of letting whatever happens happen. You're not playing the victim. And the point is try to make this a habit. Because when you form that habit, that's life-changing. Because it really allows you to become a true leader of your own life. And if you hand it over to someone else, now you're just a victim. I mean, for me, it's kind of an easy choice. I'll go with the leadership as opposed to the victimhood. Now, the next chapter is persistence. And I think persistence is really your desire on fire. You're really passionate about something, you're really pursuing it, you're doing whatever it takes, there's an obstacle that you can't overcome. I mean, it's a very powerful place to be operating from. I mean, we're all going to face challenges in our life, but the key is are you going to conquer and overcome it or not? I mean, those are your two choices there. When I was 16 years old, I signed up in a martial arts school. And I was very uncoordinated. I was really inflexible. And I was not very athletic. So I didn't really look like somebody that was going to achieve a 7th degree black belt, co-found a martial arts system. You know what I'm saying? So it just become a master. I mean, that didn't look like it was in the cards. But I applied persistence. I attended every single class. I mean, I didn't miss. I mean, for the first several years of my training, I could count on one hand how many classes I missed. And when I graduated high school, I took a night shift job so that I could train from the moment the school opened until they locked the door. And then I would just go to work. So, it was something where I had to live this. I had to actually use that persistence to achieve what I've achieved in life. So I think that that's a very important concept, and that's why it's in this book. Because if you look at Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth, Abraham Lincoln, they all did big things in their life, but they all had big adversities in their life as well. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. It would have been very easy for him to stop right there. But he trained and got back in and became one of the greatest basketball players ever. Babe Ruth, he held the record for the most home runs for many years. But he also held the record for the most strikeouts. And that, was broken by Mickey Mantle. So, I mean, he was in good company there. But the point was he was focused on his home runs. He wasn't focused on the strikeouts. He was focused on where he was going, not the obstacles that were in his way. Abraham Lincoln, he failed at business at the age of 21. His girlfriend died. He had a nervous breakdown. And then he lost 8 elections on his way to becoming the president. So you can see where they had big challenges in front of them, but they utilized persistence and they got to where they wanted to go. Now, it's not to say that you're not going to have failures or obstacles. That's just it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you look at, I heard something Richard Branson said, and he said, if you're not making mistakes and if you're not having temporary failures, then you're just not trying hard enough. So, it really is just part of the process. And I think the really big obstacles are just put there by the universe just to see if we're serious about this. Do you really want it? So, really the persistence is really the difference between success and failures in many situations. So it is a very important quality to try to adopt and cultivate. Now the next chapter is aim high. It's about aiming through the target, not at the target. Now, if you're aiming, let's say you're aiming here, and you come up close to it and you're here, that's okay, but what if you put your target way over here, and you only get this far? That's still way higher than that, so you want to try to aim as big as you can. There's a quote, shoot for the moon because even if you miss, you'll be up amongst the stars. And that's just a perfect quote for that situation, because what it is you got to really aim big, and stretch yourself in order to be able to really get to big places. But if you keep shrinking and aiming really low, you're not going to go anywhere. And that's not to say that you don't do it in increments. your big goal is over here, but you go here, then here, then here, and you march there. It's not just a straight shot. But the point is that you can't go anywhere that you haven't already pictured in your mind. If you're only picturing this, you'll never get that because it's not in the picture. You have to place it there. And I think that's really important. And that's why, again, aiming big is important because you're not limiting yourself. You may think of something that you want to do, it's a pretty major step, and you get pushback from other people saying, oh, be reasonable, how are you supposed to do that? You have to not allow them to dictate what you can and can't do with your life. And you do that when you accept what it is that they're saying. And it's very important to define what your life is about, where you're going, and everyone else does not have a say in that. Only you do. It's not to say you can't gather information from people, consider opinions, but ultimately it's your choice what it is that you do in your life. Invest in yourself. Now, Warren Buffett was asked, what would be the best investment just the average investor could make? It was at a TV show. And he said, invest in yourself, because it always gives you the greatest return. And that's really what this chapter is about. What does invest in yourself really mean? Well, it can mean a lot of things. One, let's say you want to get educated in a specific area that you want to pursue real estate. So you say, okay, well, I'm going to go to some seminars. I'm going to get some more information, maybe get a coach on it, or whatever it is that you're going to do, but you're pursuing more knowledge in a subject that is your vehicle to move forward. Or you say, I want to get healthier. And so what you wind up saying is, okay, I need to invest time, money, and effort in a physical training program that's going to take me through and get me in shape and make me healthier. Or you decide I'm going to spend a little bit more money and get organic food instead of regular food, and just make a health choice there where you're not going to do fast food. And so again, it could be a number of things, but the point is that you're taking action in a way that's improving yourself. So really just kind of working on yourself, because you have to constantly be work. Because again, going back to what I said earlier, you're either going forward or backwards, so you're either getting healthier or not, but there isn't a static position that you're in. You have to remember, you are the common denominator in your life. It's really an important concept, and that's why I named the book that. It's just something that you always have to bear in mind, is that you are the effect. You are causing the effects in your life. Now, the next concept is mindfulness. And I think living a mindful life is just really being awake for it, being conscious, participating, and being aware. Otherwise, how can you control situations that you don't even know exist? You're not even paying attention to them. You get someone that they find themselves in this really bad place, and they have no idea how they got there, and they have no idea how to get out of it, because they weren't paying attention as they went. There were signs along the way, they just missed it. They've already been down this road. They keep falling into that cycle that kind of keeps bringing them someplace that they don't want to go. Now, have you ever driven down the highway and you're not paying attention at all, you're just off somewhere, and you blow right past your exit? And there was that sign that said, exit in 1 mile, exit in a half mile, exit in a quarter mile. This is your exit, please use me. It's got flashing lights and everything, you just go right past it. And life's kind of the same way. There's signs along the way, you just have to read them. You just have to be awake in order to pay attention to them. So the bottom line is that you get more out of life when you're awake for it. So it would be good to kind of participate in that. Now, the final chapter, and a very important chapter, because it is regarding your health and just how important that is. If you don't have your health, what do you really have? And everyone, if you asked anyone what would be the highest priority of anything, most people would say their health. But if you look at their actions, they don't make it a top priority. They don't even make it a priority at all. It's just an activity, that they go through eating, whether the food choices, they don't really take an active role in promoting their own health. The first thing I was taught in martial art training was that you have one mind, and you have one body, and it's your job and responsibility to take care of it. You only get one. And I'm going to give you an example just to kind of put all this in perspective. Let's say, we need you to use your imagination a little on this one. Okay, so work with me. All right, so let's say your body is a car, and your mind is a driver of your car. And you only get one car to last you the rest of your life. After that, you're walking everywhere. So how much time, money, and effort would you put in maintaining that car and keep it running as best as possible? Because you only get one. But how many people look at their bodies that way? I only get one. What am I doing to take care of it? What am I doing to promote that good health? Now, if you find yourself in this place where you eat really, really unhealthy food, you have no desire whatsoever to exercise, you're just like in this really unhealthy place, you're saying, well, how can I go from, I can't leap from this unhealthy place to this great, vibrant, healthy place. And I would definitely agree with you. But it doesn't mean that you can't start taking small steps. Just don't go to McDonald's, that would be a step. Just make certain choices, go for a walk, that would be a step. I mean, there's certain little things that you can do just to start to make small changes. And then work your way to where you're starting to make more progress. And you're starting to see results, you're starting to be healthier. And that's really important in order to get anywhere, is just got to take that first step, or even if they're small steps. But you still have to move forward. Now, I've touched on each of the 10 areas covered within the book. You are the common denominator in your life. Now, if you haven't read the book, I would recommend that you do, because there's a lot of really good information. And it's part of a series. It's a Success Handbook series. And each book in that series will have 10 points. Different things for you just to look at, think about, and consider. The second one will be coming out probably within the next month to 2 months. We have the first one here today. If you want to pre-order, the new book, you could, because everything's at a discount today. And but again, just really consider these points. I mean, I think they're very important, and they can make a difference in your life. Even again, if you're taking small steps with them, that's, I think that's a good direction to be going